What's up, everyone? This is Evan from Simple You, and today I'm going to talk about 4 ways to reduce screen time. If you haven't seen my first video about overstimulation and screen time, then I'll put a link in the description and you can check that one out first. All right, let's get right into it. Tip number 1 is to not use your phone in the morning. A lot of times what people do is first thing in the morning, they'll reach for their phone and they'll be scrolling through Instagram or checking email. And what this does is it starts your day off with an activity of high stimulation, and 2, it sets you back in the day. It delays you from feeling like you've started your actual day. A strategy that I use to make sure I don't use my phone in the morning actually starts with the night before. What you want to do is make your phone less accessible. So what I do is the night before, I shut my phone off, all the way off, and then I charge it in the living room overnight. So if I wanted to use my phone in the morning, I would have to get up, get slightly dressed, walk out into the living room, and then have to turn my phone on, put my passcode for the encryption thing, and then wait for it to turn on, wait for it to connect to the internet, and it takes a long time for me to be able to actually use my phone. So in the morning, I often don't. And I would recommend going for about at least an hour if you can without your phone. Or don't set a time, just see how long you can go. There have been times where I wake up fairly early in the morning to get work done, and I don't even realize that I haven't been using my phone until lunchtime. So for some of you, this might be a little bit hard if your phone is your alarm clock. My first recommendation is, well, have you thought about just buying an alarm clock? They're honestly not that expensive. You can get it for definitely less than $10. And this is something that could change your life. So it's definitely worth the small investment. Now, if you absolutely are not going to buy an alarm clock right now, that's okay. What I'd recommend doing then is that the night before, you put it in airplane mode or silence it or whatever you need to do to make sure you don't get any notifications or phone calls by the time you wake up in the morning. And then after you wake up to your alarm clock on your phone, then what you do is you can shut the phone all the way down and then go put it in the living room if you want to. If you're not going to do that, then just leave your phone somewhere. Don't carry it around with you, somewhere you're probably not going to see it that much. And then just go about your day, get ready, and then when it's time for you to leave, or after you've done a bit of work, whatever you do in the morning, then go grab your phone. Tip number 2 is to take advantage of the afternoon slump. If you're like me, pretty much every day at some point in the afternoon, you're going to get a little bit tired. For me, it often hits at about 2:30 p.m., but other people could start at 1 p.m., could start at 4 p.m. It's usually sometime after lunch in the early afternoon. And during this time, you're a bit lower energy, and it's hard for you to get focused work done. So my solution is maybe don't do focus work during that time. Because during the afternoon slump, your brain naturally wants to restore itself. So this is a great opportunity to just not use any screens and not do any intensive work at that time, if your work schedule allows for it. What can you do during that time? It's really up to you. What I do is I will maybe go for a walk. I might get some tea. I might take a nap. Just things that are relaxing and just things that don't require a lot of effort, and things that don't require a screen. Tip number 3, turn off all your screens 1 hour before sleep. Now this is a good tip for a couple of reasons. For one, blue light from screens signals to your brain that it's still daytime, and it stops it from secreting melatonin, which is what your body needs to fall asleep. Second, screens are often the biggest culprit for why people don't go to bed on time, because they're watching videos, or they're trying to get that last work done, respond to those last few emails. If you can try to get that all done an hour before bed, even if you spilled over a little bit, you're still going to get to bed at a reasonable time. Furthermore, when you're on screens, it's usually giving you a lot of information to think about, and you don't want to have very much to think about when you're going to bed. So what I'd recommend using that hour to do is to allow yourself to process the day. Perhaps you might want to take a shower during that time. Perhaps you might want to journal. Or perhaps you might want to escape your thoughts by reading fantasy. All of those things are really good to reduce screen time and get better sleep. The fourth tip is probably the most challenging, but certainly the most interesting, is to take an entire day or an entire weekend screen-free. Now, I did this for one day over the summer, and it was really interesting to see how much I depended on my laptop and my phone for entertainment. I didn't even know how to have fun without it. And at the same time, it was also a very stress-free and relaxing day. I got to just kind of walk around, I got to reflect, and I just kind of picked up a book randomly. And then I ended up finding it really interesting. And eventually I read the whole thing, and I even bought the second book in the series. I also learned that I could read and eat at the same time. I typically, if I'm eating by myself, I would watch YouTube videos while I'm eating. But during that day, obviously I couldn't do that, so I just picked up a book and read, and I realized that was actually quite nice, and I've done that a few times since. So either way, it's challenging and it might be a little bit boring, but I think you're gonna learn a lot about yourself if you try it. Okay, now you might be wondering, if I'm reducing all this screen time, am I not just gonna get a lot less work done? Well, I'm sure if you do this, you could find a few isolated cases in which you get a little bit less work done in the short term. But these tips that I'm giving you are definitely gonna make you more productive in the long term, and even sometimes in the short term as well. And the reason for that is people tend to work better under time constraints. Parkinson's law states, work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. So if you only have, 2 hours before you have to turn your screens off, you're gonna do whatever it takes to get that project done in 2 hours. But if you have, the rest of the day, which is 4 hours, 5 hours, it might take you 4 or 5 hours to get that project done. And the other reason why this will actually make you more productive is that it gives your brain space to replenish. And your brain is precisely the tool that you need to get work done efficiently. So taking care of your brain means you'll be getting better work done and you'll be happier at the same time. All right, so those are my 4 tips to free yourself from screens. If you try any of these, let me know how it works for you in the comments.